following is a Galactic Digital Studios production. This is Sports Central, part of the Closing Tag Network. Well, the first week of NBA free agency is officially ended. The Lakers are a joke. The Clippers are an even bigger joke. And is Lauri Markkanen on the trade block? This is Sports Central, part of the Closing Tag Network. So, let's start off by saying this. This is going to probably be a two-part podcast episode. So, the first part, we're going to cover the NBA in general and maybe have a rant about the Lakers at the end. Because, of course, I'm going to have a rant about the Lakers. Because, of course, I am. And the second part is going to be solely on the Clippers. It's going to be half history lesson because apparently Steve Ballmer neglected to study Clippers history before he bought the team from Donald Sterling. And as they always say, those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And part of it is going to just be where they go from here type of situation. So let me pull up let's see. Okay. Here we go. Maybe. If the bloody thing actually cooperates. So this is apparently going to go by team as opposed to by order. So let's actually fix that, shall we? Yeah, because I really don't want to do it that way. Here we go. This is much better. All right. So let's rewind the clock all the way back to the first day of free agency. Well, a little bit before then. So, as expected, nobody was willing to trade for Chris Paul. Chris Paul, who was on the last year of his contract, granted, but that last year was going to have a $30 million kicker. And nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted him. Especially at this stage in his career. So, I mean, if this was 10 years ago, I'm sure teams would be bending over backwards for Chris Paul at $30 million. They'd probably think it was a bargain. But Chris Paul ended up getting released by the Warriors. Now, you're probably wondering, how is that possible? Well, the last year of Chris Paul's contract was non-guaranteed, but there was a catch. The catch was that the Warriors had to let Chris Paul go before midnight, July 1st, 2024, in order for it to not be guaranteed, in order for it to not count against their salary cap, which would have definitely put them over the second apron. And I'll probably dive a little bit more into, what the new collective bargaining agreement entails as far as, what a salary cap is, what's the first apron, what's the second apron, so on and so forth. So you're going to hear me use a lot of that terminology and you're going to be lost, and that's okay. I'll explain all of that in a blog post later this month. There's a lot of crazy shit going on that, yeah, the less said, the better. But Chris Paul ends up getting released from the Warriors, so they are not going to have to eat that $30 million. So that's good news for them. Of course, they've got the whole so-and-so got signed to a rookie contract. So-and-so got signed to a rookie contract. Bronny James got signed to a rookie contract. Okay. Yeah, I get it. Anyway, the Los Angeles Clippers got somebody in free agency. Mo Bamba. Center Mo Bamba, who was playing backup for Joel Embiid last year in Philadelphia, is now with the Clippers and probably playing backup to Ante Zubac. I know I'm butchering that name, and I apologize. Mason Plumlee going from the Clippers to the Phoenix Suns. And he's not the only one. Monte Morris also going to the Phoenix Suns. So that's a big pickup, especially because right now Phoenix doesn't need more big names. I keep hearing all this talk about, oh, the Suns should bring in Chris Paul. Oh, the Suns should bring in, should try and bring back DeAndre Ayton. Oh, the Suns should do this. The Suns should... Slow your roll. The last thing the Suns need to do is compounding a problem with an even bigger problem. This is a good pickup. Well, good pair of pickups. Monte Morris doesn't have the name recognition that a Bradley Beal or Devin Booker has, but he's going to be good. He's going to be good coming off the bench and may even slide into that starting point guard position depending on what they do from here. So this is a good pickup. Mason Plumlee, same thing. He doesn't have that name recognition, but he's going to be a good, solid addition to that bench. And I think Phoenix did a really good job in kind of shoring up that spot on their roster. Because right now, their biggest problem isn't anybody on the starting lineup. It's their bench depth or lack thereof. More rookie contracts. Here we go. Alec Burks. Represent. Going to the Miami Heat in a nice little trade. Or not trade, but signing. Again, good solid addition to the bench. He's not going to wow you with stats. He's not going to wow you with any scoring or anything like that. He is going to simply come in for a few minutes, take some pressure off of guys on the starting lineup, and he's going to bring a little bit of defense and a little bit of shooting. So that's a good pickup for them. And then you've got Garrett Temple staying with the Toronto Raptors. Now, here's a couple of contract things. Why is it not showing the big ones? I knew I shouldn't have gone to the NBA website. They never have that. They never have any of that nonsense. But anyway. So here we're going to start from the top. I'm just going off of CBS Sports. So we're going from the top, going way down. Of course, LeBron James is listed as the top free agent. Of course he is. And of course, he decided to stay with the Lakers. Anybody that didn't see that coming is blinder than Stevie Wonder. You had to know this was coming. Had to. They hired the guy that he wanted as the head coach. They drafted the guy that he wanted them to draft, his own son. And they've been going nonstop on trying to trade for guys. More on a couple of the guys that they may have been trying to trade for. He was even willing, according to reports, to take a pay cut to help them bring in more players. And I'll get more into some of these players here in a bit, but let's just say none of them signed with the Lakers. They were trying to bring in Paul George. They were trying to bring in Klay Thompson. They were trying to bring in... Why is that? Oh. What the hell is going on here? Some of these websites, I swear. Here we go. Anyway, they're trying to bring in Paul George. They're trying to bring in Lauri Markkanen. They were trying to bring in Klay Thompson. They were trying to bring in James Harden. You know things are getting desperate when you're trying to bring in James Harden. And yet they've gotten absolutely none of those guys. You know who they did get? They ended up getting the player option picked up for D'Angelo Russell. So that's nice. But he was willing to take a pay cut for that. Supposedly, allegedly, reportedly. I'll believe it when I see it. But LeBron James is going to be reported to have earned, what was the figure that I heard the other day? By the end of this contract, this 2-year contract they just signed with the Lakers, he is going to be reported to have earned over $500 million. That's with a B. $500 million throughout his NBA career off of player contracts alone. Now, you know, sponsorships and, you know, deals outside the NBA realm and movie contracts and all that is going to add on to that. I've been trying to tell people, the guy wants to own an NBA team soon. He wasn't going to go play for the minimum in Philadelphia or Orlando or Indiana or Dallas or any of these other teams. He was always going to be playing for the Lakers. Plain and simple. Paul George signed a 4-year contract worth $212 million to go to the Philadelphia 76ers. Gee, who could have seen that coming? Besides everybody. And of course, following up that, Tyrese Maxey signing a 5-year extension worth $204 million with the Philadelphia 76ers. It's exactly how I pictured it was going to happen. They were going to bring in Paul George first. This website's really pissing me off. I'm in a very foul mood. But I figure I better get podcast recording done sooner rather than later. Let's see. I'll try and screenshot this real quick before it starts going crazy again. Boom. Done. Suck it, CBS Sports. Anyway, back to it. It's exactly how I envisioned it was going to happen. The Philadelphia 76ers were going to bring in whatever they were going to bring in first. There was rumors that they were going after Paul George. I mean, you could have seen that coming. There was rumors that they were trying to bring in, what's his name, Klay Thompson. There were rumors that they were going to try and coerce Pascal Siakam. I mean, they were going after all the big boys. They were going after all the heavy hitters. They had the cap room to do it. And then once that was done, then Tyrese Maxey was going to follow suit and come in and get that deal going. So, not exactly a surprise, but also the right move. Because Paul George, even at his age that he is now, is a lot better player to help bring a championship to the Philadelphia 76ers than Al Horford or Tobias Harris. That's just the reality of the situation. And you had to keep Tyrese Maxey. There's no way any of this was going to be worth it if you didn't keep Tyrese Maxey. Just no way. Tyrese Maxey is your player of the future. Whatever happens with Paul George, whatever happens with Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey is your guy going forward. He proved it. He's proving it constantly. So, this is a good pickup. James Harden is going to be staying in Los Angeles with the Clippers on a 2-year, $70 million deal. Again, I'll have thoughts about the Clippers on a separate podcast, but let's just say, yeah. Anyway, Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby are going to be staying with their respective teams. Siakam signed a 4-year deal worth $189 million with the Indiana Pacers. OG Anunoby, 5-year deal, $212 million, staying with the New York Knicks. That's the right call on both cases. Siakam and Anunoby had to stay with their respective squads if those trades were going to be worth anything for those respective squads. That's just the reality of it. And there was no way that Toronto was going to keep either of those guys long term. There just wasn't. Speaking of not being able to keep guys long term, the Mikal Bridges trade basically all but sealed Isaiah Hartenstein's fate. So Isaiah Hartenstein waved bye-bye to New York. 3-year, $87 million. God, I need reading glasses. For the Oklahoma City Thunder. This is a good pickup. A little bit overpriced, a little bit expensive, but a good pickup. Just like I said with the Alex Caruso trade, Hartenstein brings playoff experience to Oklahoma City, and he brings a level of toughness and a level of intensity off the bench that is going to be needed going forward, especially when you're trying to back up Chet Holmgren. Contavious Caldwell-Pope going from the Denver Nuggets to the Orlando Magic on a 3-year, $66 million deal. The only thing that would have made that better is if there was a 0.6 after it. I don't know. I kind of feel like trolling religious people right now. But anyway, another good pickup. Caldwell-Pope is on the wrong side of 30, but he's still a good shooter. And he's still a good, solid, player coming off the bench. And right now, especially after the loss of Joe Ingles, and I'll get to Ingles here in a minute, Orlando is going to need good shooters coming off the bench. Malik Monk and Emmanuel Quickie staying with their respective teams. Monk signing a 4-year, $78 million deal with the Kings. And Emmanuel Quickie staying with the Raptors on a 5-year, $175 million deal. But here's the one that I've been wanting to talk about. Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson. There were rumors and there were all sorts of talk about Klay Thompson going to the Magic, about Klay Thompson going to Philadelphia, about Klay Thompson going to Indiana, about the Golden State Warriors working a sign-and-trade deal with the Clippers should the Clippers lose out on Paul George, about the Lakers possibly being interested in a sign-and-trade deal. And again, reports being that Freudian slip, LeBron James was willing to take a pay cut to bring Klay Thompson in. I apologize right now to Lakers fans for confusing LeBron James with Kobe Bryant. My bad. Please don't shoot me. None of that happened. Instead, Klay Thompson signs a 3-year, $50 million deal to the defending Western Conference champion Dallas Mavericks. Wow. That is massive. That's what she said. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about Klay Thompson. Yes, he is coming off 2 very devastating injuries, 2 career-altering, borderline career-threatening injuries. But as he proved last year and the year before, he's still an excellent shooter. When he's motivated and when he's on his game, he is better than just about anybody in that department in the entire league. It's just that he was neither healthy nor properly motivated for most of last year. I think he's going to be both in Dallas. I think he's going to be both playing with guys like Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, guys that are going to be willing to try and create plays for him and not just look to shoot the ball all the time. Sorry, Steph. I know I had to do it. You know I had to do it. But the fact of the matter is that Dallas needed the shooting and Klay Thompson needed the system to help get him back on track. This is a perfect fit for both sides. Now for Golden State, this is tough. This is a very tough situation because, at least at the time, they lost Klay Thompson for essentially nothing. And it's going to be rough because Klay Thompson is one of those cornerstones from that big 3, that dynasty from Golden State that won all those championships. The Steph, Klay, Draymond cornerstones. He was one of the big ones. And it's kind of sad that it had to come to this. But Golden State Warriors felt like he wasn't worth the money. He felt like he still had something left to prove, something left to contribute, and the rest is history. So I wish him luck in Dallas. And I'm sure Golden State Warriors fans do as well. We'll get to Golden State here in a bit as soon as I'm able to switch screens. But real quick, Obi Toppin staying with the Pacers for 4 years, $60 million. It's a good fit. Tobias Harris signing with the Detroit Pistons, 2 years, $52 million. Surprising, considering everything that happened with him these last couple of years. I am very surprised that he was able to get anywhere close to that figure, but this is a good pickup for Detroit. Hopefully, this is the start of, that organization turning a corner and potentially becoming more than just the basement dwellers of the Eastern Conference that they've been for the last 3 years. And then Joe Ingles, one of the Utah Jazz fans' favorite players, has signed a 2-year deal with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, there's a lot that could be said about that. Yes, Joe Ingles is going to turn 37 before the season starts. And yes, he is about as athletic as I am at this point, which is not saying a lot of good. But he's still an excellent shooter. And he's still an excellent distributor of the ball. Him coming off the bench for Minnesota is going to be huge. That's going to be a massive, massive deal for Minnesota. And you know who's happiest to see him, or who's going to be happiest to see him wearing a Timberwolves uniform? His old buddies Mike Conley and Rudy Gobert. Especially Gobert. I'm sure he misses his little drinking buddy. I'm sure he misses his friend. I am not seeing those trades anywhere. Oh boy, okay. Well, we may have to do this all unconventional and whatnot, but anyway. So, while I am trying to find where the hell the news is for all these trades, let's talk about two critical contract extensions. The first one is one that I touched on in a previous podcast episode, and that is the Cleveland Cavaliers signing Donovan Mitchell to a contract extension. Yes, Spida is staying in Cleveland. I'm sorry, Knicks fans. I'm sorry, Heat fans. I'm sorry, Nets fans. You're just going to have to wait a little while longer. And it's what I've said on social media over the last week. This could have been the Utah Jazz signing him to a contract extension. But no, we had to get in our feels about how he was for black rights and, against police brutality, and being as vocal and as open about Black Lives Matter as he was. You can tell I'm still a little salty about Jazz fans running him out of town. Just a little. Just a little. Just a little. But no, we had to run him out of town because there was no way we were ever going to win with him. And if we weren't going to win with him, he was going to bolt for New York the first chance he got. Well, how many fucking playoff series has Cleveland won with him? And he's staying there. This is what I'm talking about. Jazz fans have this inferiority complex, this self-sabotaging inferiority complex, and I know this because I've had it before, that we're just not good enough for you. We're just not good enough for the Rudy Goberts and the Donovan Mitchells and the Karl Malones and the John Stocktons and the Darren Williams. Hell, we weren't even good enough to convince Derek Fisher to stick around. We weren't even good enough to convince Derek Fisher that, hey, we know your kid has cancer, a very rare form of cancer. There is a cancer research institute just up the street from the Delta Center or Energy Solutions Arena or Vivint Arena or whatever the fuck it was called at the time. There's a research facility up there that can help your kid. No, I'm good. I'm just going to go back to LA. I'm good. Yeah, just let me out of my contract if you could, please. Bye. My problem was never that he wanted out. It's Derek Fisher, Mr. 3 NBA championship rings, and Kobe Bryant was just beginning to get back up on the ascent towards, possibly going for ring number 4. I could see the writing on the wall. My problem was him using his kid, his daughter, who he no longer has any contact with for the time being right now, using her as an excuse to get out of his contract. If he had just come forward to, I think it was Kevin O'Connor and one of the Miller boys, I can't remember, Greg Miller, I think it was. If he had just gone to Greg Miller and said, look, I enjoyed the opportunity that you guys presented to me. I appreciate everything you've done for me, but I just want to go back and play for LA. I just want to go back home to LA, play with LeBron. There I go again. Play with Kobe and, go win a ring there. I'm sure that Jazz fans would have just been fine with that. At least I would have. I can't speak for the entire fan base, as evidenced by my rants lately. But no. He had to play the daughter card. He had to play the my daughter has cancer card. The same card that he played to get out of his coaching agreement with the New York Knicks, by the way. And again, now his daughter and his wife are estranged and they don't speak to him anymore. Serves the asshole right. Oh, and it's the same guy that, as the NBA Players Association president, almost caused an entire NBA season to go bye-bye. Off into the wind you go. Yeah, I have a lot of pent-up frustration about Jazz fans, and I have a lot of pent-up frustrations about Derek Fisher. As a father of a girl, can you blame me? But enough about Donovan Mitchell and enough about inferiority complex-ridden Jazz fans. The big one, the big contract extension was, and deservedly so, Jason Tatum. How's this grab ya? 4 years, $312 million. If that sounds like the biggest contract in NBA history, that is because it is. And I gotta tell you, like I said, both Tatum and Brown deserve it. The fact that those two came together at the time that they did, and the fact that those two helped the Celtics win championship number 18 when they did. By the way, how much are you kicking yourselves, Nets fans? You could have had both those guys. You could have had both those guys, and we wouldn't even be talking about your organization being a complete fucking joke. But yeah, they definitely deserve every little bit of that. Because I know Brown signed an extension. What was it? I want to say 8 months ago, something like that. But in any event, now that I finally have a proper fucking thing pulled up, hopefully SB Nation doesn't go cuckoo crazy like CBS Sports was. Yes, I'm doing all of this in real time. Leave me alone. Kevin Love signed a 2-year, $4 million contract to stay with the Heat. Meh. Let's see. Andre Drummond signs a 2-year deal for $10 million to go play backup for the Philadelphia 76ers. Meh. Cade Cunningham. I said in my blog post the other day that I'm not sure Cade Cunningham's the guy. Obviously, Dennis Lindsey feels that he's that guy. Yes, Dennis Lindsey is now the executive vice president of basketball operations for the Detroit Pistons. Good luck, dude. You need it. But he apparently feels that Cade Cunningham's the guy because he signed him to a 5-year contract extension for $226 million. How's that grab you? I don't know if I accept that idea. I don't know if I'm a Pistons fan. I'm happy about that. Cade Cunningham, at least to me, from the outside looking in, he hasn't really done anything to convince me that he's worth that. But again, Dennis Lindsey clearly sees something in him that I don't. So we'll leave that alone. Drew Eubanks signs a 2-year contract worth $10 million for the Utah Jazz. Meh. Tyrese Maxey. We already covered Tyrese Maxey. Jonathan Isaac signs a 5-year contract extension for $84 million for the Orlando Magic. Meh. So are these not official or what? Oh, here we go. Okay. This was what I was looking for. So, little backstory. Back in 2021, when the Lakers were making moves and making all sorts of rumblings, I believe it was either the day before or the day of the 2021 NBA draft. They were making waves about possibly trading for Buddy Hield. Now, it was to the point where Adrian Wojnarowski was actually on Twitter at the time, basically saying it's a done deal, that Buddy Hield is on his way to the Lakers. And my first reaction was, fuck. Well, there's 3 more championships for the Lakers. Buddy Hield. Now, I'll get back to Buddy Hield in a bit, but continuing the story. Then comes the news about an hour later from Wojnarowski, basically saying, oops, sorry, no, that's wrong. That deal is completely fallen apart. And now the Lakers are back on the trade block. And then an hour after that, he reports that the Lakers traded for Russell Westbrook. And I went from, well, shit, that's 3 more championships for the Lakers, to, well, yay, the Lakers are going to suck for a little while longer. Woo, woo. I'm not a Westbrook fan, in case you can't tell. Oh, and Westbrook's staying in Los Angeles as well. So there's that. But Buddy Hield, circling back to Buddy Hield, is a good player. He's an excellent shooting guard. He's, a good ball distributor. He's good on defense. He's good. He's a good shooter. He's shooting like 39% from 3-point land. So, yeah, he's pretty good. Apparently, he was good enough that he was traded from the Philadelphia 76ers in a sign-and trade. He signed a 2-year, $21 million contract extension with the Sixers, who then promptly traded him to the Golden State Warriors for 2 draft picks, one of which they acquired in the Klay Thompson trade. That's massive. Now, 2 years ago, if you were to ask me if Buddy Hield is a good player, I would have said yes. Is he a better player than Klay Thompson? No. Today, if you're asking me, is he a better player than Klay Thompson? I would say yes. Only because of Klay's injuries. That's it. But this is still a solid pickup. Buddy Hield, who is apparently already being nicknamed by Warriors fans Splash Buddy. Don't shoot the messenger. That's people on YouTube. Go yell at them. He's going to be solid. He's going to be a solid addition to that roster. And a starting lineup now of Steph, Buddy, Jonathan Kuminga, Draymond Green, and whoever they plug in at the 5. And I'll give you my thoughts on who they might be targeting for that here in a minute. It's a solid lineup. Is it enough to compete with Denver or Dallas or Oklahoma City or Minnesota? Probably not. But this might be. The Warriors are apparently not done trading. They are currently in heavy negotiations with the Utah Jazz for Lauri Markkanen. And apparently they're not the only ones. The Jazz have been fielding trade talks and calls from teams like the Heat, the Lakers, the Mavericks. Why are the Mavericks doing this? I don't know. More shooting, I guess. Yeah. Again, if you didn't see that coming, that's on you. I called it back on the day of the draft, and I called it in my blog post. Go check it out, sports.theclosingtide.com. Website might be a little janky for a couple days, but yeah, we're fine. I called it. I basically said Lauri Markkanen is not long for the world in Utah. And it's not because he did anything outrageous or said anything outrageous or did anything to rock the boat or anything like that. No, it's because he's got an expiring contract and there's no indication that he is going to be sticking around. It's basically the same thing that I said weeks ago about Donovan Mitchell in Cleveland. Since Lauri apparently has not yet signed a contract extension with the Jazz, guess who's on the block? And I say, fine, that's fine. I'm kind of numb to this whole Danny Ainge bullshit by now. Get a few first-round picks, a popcorn maker, maybe a new vending machine for the players, and who knows, maybe some actual entertainment rather than the bullshit that you currently have going at Jazz games. Maybe. And maybe a couple $1 million to help go towards that entertainment district that Ryan Smith has such a hard-on for. Sorry, this just went graphic. My bad. Hey, this is rated on YouTube as not appropriate for kids anyway, so whatever. But it's not because Markkanen is a bad player. He's a good player. He's an excellent player. He won Most Improved Player last year, not this most recent season, but the season before. He's a solid player and an excellent shooter for a guy his size. He's 7 foot tall and he shoots like a shooting guard. Who better to plug alongside Steph and Buddy and Jonathan Kuminga at the center position? It's not like you need someone who's going to be a solid rebounder. You've got Draymond to do that for you. So you basically just have Lauri camping outside and shooting threes, and if he misses any of them, he'll make more than he misses, I promise you that. Then Draymond's there to pick up the slack. So there you go. And I'd say the same thing about Miami. The thing about Lauri is that he's not exclusively a center. He's a stretch big. So you can plug him at the center. You can plug him in at power forward. Hell, he's versatile enough that you could plug him in at the small forward. So he'd fit in just fine in Miami. He'd fit in just fine with the Lakers as... Sorry, I almost threw up a little bit in my mouth saying that. But yeah, he's going to fit in just fine wherever he goes, except maybe Minnesota. I don't know if there's just any room for him in the starting lineup there, but that all depends on what they do with Cat. But here's the thing about the Lakers. Aside from the fact that LeBron James has basically manipulated and orchestrated this entire offseason around him, LeBron James, as I said before on this podcast, is becoming a cancer for the Lakers. Think about this for a second, Lakers fans. Just ponder this for a second. Let's rewind the clock a bit, about 12 years. You're just coming off banner number 16. Kobe is at the peak of his game. Rest his soul. Pau Gasol, Ron Artest, or Meta World Peace, or whatever you want to call them, are celebrating. They're having a grand old time. You've got guys on that team that nobody had ever heard of before and nobody's ever heard from since. And Phil Jackson is basically having the time of his life, both on the court and off the court. Google Phil Jackson Genie Bus. But what was the big thing that Lakers fans always bragged about their team back then, and even some of them now to this day? We can get anybody we want. We want that guy, we're going to get him eventually. We want that guy, we're going to get him eventually. We want that guy back there. He's a young kid, he's a young stud, but we're going to get him eventually. It may take us a few years, but we're going to get him. Everybody wants to play for the Lakers. Think of all the players so far in this free agency that have said no to playing for the Lakers. In just the last week alone, you have had guys like Paul George. You have had guys like Buddy Hield. You have had guys like Klay Thompson. You have had guys, consider this, DeMar DeRozan. If anybody in that superstar echelon was ever going to bolt for the Lakers, you would think it would be a guy from Los Angeles who grew up idolizing Kobe Bryant like DeMar DeRozan did. DeMar DeRozan is still a free agent. He had a golden opportunity to sign with the Lakers for $20 million a year, and he passed because he did not want to be associated with what's going on right now in Los Angeles. The allure of playing on the West Coast is dead. The allure of playing for the purple and gold is dead. The allure of playing for a team that has won 17 NBA championships in its history dating all the way back to its days in Minneapolis, is dead. The Laker mystique is dead. And it couldn't have happened to a nicer organization, to a nicer star player, or to a nicer group of fans. And I'm sorry, Lakers fans. I'm sorry. So let me clarify that last statement. I do not hold a grudge against the longtime Lakers fans, the guys that are sensible enough, the guys that have their head on right, that basically say, okay, yeah, we're going to suck for a few years, but it's going to be fine. We'll be back in a few years, whatever. They're not the ones that are saying, oh, we want Giannis Antetokounmpo. Oh, we want Donovan Mitchell. Oh, we want Jalen Brunson. Oh, we want Julius Randle back. Oh, we want this guy and this guy and this guy. Basically, like a kid in a candy store. Pick. I'm not talking about those fans. Those fans, I feel sorry for them, sort of. And Jeremy, especially on Facebook, I'm talking about you. You're cool, dude. We're good. But it's the bandwagon fans. It's the guys that, are going to be all about, hey, let's bring LeBron in, or hey, let's bring in, Giannis, or hey, let's bring in this and this and this and this. All the guys that basically want all the superstars to play for one team. I'm talking about you specifically. I laugh at you. I have laughed at you in the past on this podcast. And I still laugh at you, just not as loud. All of this is karma. All of this is karma for selling your soul for Anthony Davis and LeBron James. I hope the bubble championship was worth it, because that is the last championship you are ever going to have as long as LeBron James is in Los Angeles. Now, am I foolish enough to think that the Lakers aren't going to recover from this? No. As I said about the Clippers, and will say about the Clippers in the next episode, those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. As my phone is going off. Again. Those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. The Lakers have been down this road before, where no one wants to play with them, no one really wants to mess with them, no one wants to really be associated with them. It happened right before Kobe showed up. It happened right before LeBron showed up. It will happen again, and then next time, and the next time, and the next time. It's a cycle. Just like every other sports team, it's a cycle. Some teams are stuck in a perpetual cycle of suck. No names mentioned, the Utah Jazz. And some teams are stuck in a perpetual cycle of suck for a few years, on top. Suck for a few years, on top. Suck for a few years, on top. And once in a while, there's something that breaks them out of that cycle, like the Clippers signing Kawhi Leonard. But it always comes around. It always comes around to that same cycle. The Nets are experiencing it right now. The Pistons are experiencing it right now. The Hornets are experiencing it right now, and the Lakers are experiencing it right now. I take a great deal of pleasure and pride in watching the Lakers completely collapse. It is a beauty to behold. It's like watching the Roman Empire collapse, but with Wi-Fi. No, wait, that's the US. Never mind. It's like watching the Cowboys not make it to the conference championship game for 30 years. Except I don't think it's going to take 30 years for the Lakers to get back. It'll take 10, maybe. It may even take 15, but won't take 30. That's why I take great pleasure and pride in it right now, because I know deep down in my black, Laker-hating, dark heart of sports fandom, even though right now things look rough and things look completely bleak for Lakers fans, they'll be back. It's just a matter of time. But in the meantime, I'm going to enjoy every goddamn minute of this. And that's all the time that I have, because we're coming up on an hour. And I did say that I would record a second episode. If you would like to donate, donation link is in the upper right hand corner of theclosingtag.com. Just go to any of the Closing Tag websites. You'll see the same donation link. It all goes to the same page. I made sure of that. And donate as little or as much as you want. If you want to leave a review on Spotify, reviews are open. Reviews are awesome. If you're watching this on Facebook, like the video, comment, share with friends and family. If you are watching this on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. We are getting more comfortable with reels and shorts. So the more shorts that I put out, the more that you'll be notified. So hit that bell for notifications so you're notified every time we drop a new reel or short. I get the two confused. It's the same thing but different platforms. Why can't they just make the naming convention more consistent? Whatever. Anyway, thank you for listening, for liking, for downloading, for donating. I almost made up another new word. Your efforts are not going unnoticed. So thank you. And I am sober, I promise. I don't know why I said that just now. But anyway, remember to include your closing tags, guys. And I'll see you probably later this week with a new episode. Thank you. This has been a Galactic Digital Studios production.